friends, welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time watching, hi, my name is Ella, and today I'm finally starting on one of the biggest areas on this island, which is going to be Daisy Bay's Artist Market. If you haven't seen the last speed build where we did the museum, I'll link it up in the card for you, but let's get started with today's build. As usual, you can find all the custom designs I'm using in the description below. So even though this area is technically part of the market in my mind, it is not yet the main area where all the stalls and such will be. This is simply a lookout spot that gives you a, hopefully, spectacular view of the market below once that's finally finished. And yeah, you can also sit down and have something to drink and eat here if you're exhausted from shopping. Since I'm planning on making the marketplace quite symmetrical, I knew I wouldn't really have any use for this area here that's sort of right behind my entrance, so I figured a small cliff as a lookout was probably a good solution. I also really wanted to try and use an inverted path for this build. If you haven't seen this kind of path before, it's basically a combination of the in-game pathing and a custom design path. And you'll see what that looks like in my case in a minute. And the really cool bit is that it gives you the chance to plant flowers and weeds and trees and such in the spots where only the in-game path is visible, as long as you obviously use an in-game path like the dirt paths where you can actually plant flowers and weeds on, which that would obviously not be possible if I just plastered this whole area with my custom design path, right? So that's really cool, and one of the things that I like best about it. The main issue I have with this style of pathing is that it's kind of tough to make it look natural and to cover up the harsh edges, but I figured that I could probably make it work in the case of this build, so I just decided to give it a shot, and I ended up really liking it. I fiddled around a lot with what kind of furniture I wanted to use exactly, as I usually do, and I had to extend the terraforming just a little bit in some spots to make sure I had enough room for everything. You'll see that I also already covered the main market area with a custom path so that I could sort of imagine what it might look like from the lookout spot when it's actually built. And honestly, I'm not sure the view will be amazing because it is such a big area and the farther away spots I feel like won't look as good, but hey, I'm still hoping it will turn out really cool in the end. Otherwise, the speed build itself should be pretty self-explanatory, so let's get into the chatting part of the video. Just to catch you up real quick, if this is the first time you're watching a speed build of mine, I always combine these with a little casual chat about a topic that's currently on my mind, just because I like to be open and share my perspective on things, and also because I would really love to hear yours, so if you have any thoughts on what I'm talking about today, please do leave them in the comments below. So there's one thing that's been popping up a lot in my life recently, and that is the idea of appreciation and gratitude for what you have. And I thought this might also be a good topic for today because of Nintendo's recent presentation at E3 and the fact that many people were very disappointed that we didn't get any Animal Crossing news. Now, I totally understand feeling disappointed and like hoping for some fresh content to come along. I have to say I personally didn't have high hopes. I don't know, I didn't expect much from the E3 presentation, but in any case, I still do understand that people were disappointed. I don't think I'll ever understand the people who got really angry and upset with Nintendo, because, you know, if you're not happy with the game, don't play it anymore, and don't buy it if you have never played it. You know, that's totally up to you. But in any case, I don't really want to get too much into a discussion of what people should be thinking about the fact that they didn't present anything at E3, or of what updates we should or shouldn't expect in the future. I'm more interested in the idea behind people's anger, or behind people being so upset about getting no more fresh content for the game. So what I feel is behind this a little bit is the idea that we'll be happier with the game if we have more content, or like not just obviously related to the game, but I think in general people have this idea nowadays that they will be happier the more they have of something. Like, you'll be happier the more money you have, you'll be happier the more things you have, you'll be happier, you know, it can really apply to almost everything. You'll be happier the more friends you have, you'll be happier the more vacations you can go on and so forth. And obviously that's a very personal thing, and I'm not saying that everyone's experience is going to be the same, but for me personally, I found that I always fall for that. Like, I always think I will be happier with more, but in the end, I'm usually not. And I think it would be a very similar case with Animal Crossing. I feel like if you just keep waiting for new things to come along, those will get old at some point as well, and then you'll be waiting for the next new thing and the next new thing. I think you'll never truly appreciate anything new or anything additional coming into, like, whether that's the game in this case or your life, if you haven't learned to appreciate what you already had. Because I feel like a lot of the time what makes people happy about something new is just the fact that it's new, you know? It's a new impulse, it's something they haven't experienced before, and that of course makes you happy and it's interesting for a while, but if you rely on that too much, I think you'll just never be satisfied in the end. Also, the more you accumulate of something, the less important I feel like the individual thing is going to feel, because it's just one in 100 or 1,000 things. And on the other hand, I see so many creators in this community, I mean, whether that's here on YouTube or over on Instagram, showing their new ideas, fresh creations, things I've never seen before in 1.5 years almost of this game existing and people being able to play it. And it sounds so unfairly simple to say, well, the people that are truly happy, they are just happy because they learn to make the most out of what they have, or that having less fosters your creativity more. It sounds like that's just something you want to say to someone to make them feel better about having less than you, or at least that's sort of the impression that I feel like society can give you sometimes, that you gotta, because you are less, if you have less, you gotta make yourself feel better about that, right? And try and find the positive aspects of it. But I think they're actually incredibly valid points. I think boredom and unhappiness and discontent a lot of the time come from being used to having too much, having more than enough of what we need. And of course, again, this does not apply to everyone at all, but I feel like those people who get really, really angry about updates to video games, it probably applies to those, or at least those people don't seem to be the most appreciative of what they already have, or they are not looking at the possibilities, they're just looking at the limitations. And I believe that limitations can be a great teacher, and that's something that I've learned by doing it sort of quote-unquote wrong myself many, many times, when I thought, oh, I'll be a better artist if I buy this really expensive set of pencils, and oh, if only I had a certain instrument, maybe I would get back into playing, and I would write my own music, and I would do all kinds of things. And I thought that my limits were like of a material nature, but they really weren't, because when I did acquire those material things, I was still limited. I still didn't do the things that I wanted to do, but because those limits were in my mind and in my allowing myself to express creative freedom in whichever way is just possible for me right in that moment, to not make it dependent on anything. Now, this might seem kind of silly to mention, but whenever I think about this topic, I have to think back to when I was a little kid and I would play for hours and hours with nothing but like a little plastic bowl and some water and like grass or leaves from the garden or like the forest or whatever I could find. And that was more than enough to keep me entertained and happy, like I said, for hours. And you could say now, well, come on, you were just a kid. Of course you were happy with that then. You just didn't know any better, or like you didn't know what else was possible or whatever. But I don't believe that. I think as a kid I just had an ability that I lost at some point when I got older, which is just seeing what's there, what's available, what I have around me, and just making up all kinds of possibilities of how I could use that for my own happiness, my own pleasure, my own entertainment, my own joy. It was just all there for me, and it wasn't dependent on buying something new or, you know, likes you get on a picture you posted or anything like that. And I'm honestly a little bit jealous of, you know, that kid version of me, because, or let's say I want to take her example and learn that again a bit better, like this ability to be content with what's there instead of always reaching for what's not. Now, of course, ambition is not a bad thing, goals are not a bad thing, but I think there just comes a point when the goal or the ambition is so overpowering that you forget about everything else, and that I never want to feel, or that I'm trying very hard not to let that happen to me. And always just remember that at the end of the day, I already have so many possibilities just within me, within what I have. And that worst case scenario, happiness can also be found with a little plastic bowl and some water and some dirt or grass. I would also love to hear from you guys what some of your happiest memories are, or when you felt most appreciative of your life, or like the people around you, or whatever, you know, because I love it when people ask me that question. Not that that happens all that often, but I feel like maybe we should ask each other that more often, you know, just tell me about a really happy day when you were so grateful to be alive and to have what you have, and you didn't really want to have anything else. You didn't need anything else. Because whenever I think about that, I feel like a little bit like I'm digging for a treasure chest that I buried years ago, very deep in the ground. And in those moments of remembering, I can take it out and look back and really marvel that all of these memories in that chest are still so shiny and bright and golden, and I still have so much fondness for those days and so much appreciation and gratitude that I got to have them. So yeah, that's why I would love to hear if any of you guys have days like that, memories like that, that you'd like to share and that you like to remember. Look at these three queens, by the way, doing their yoga all together. I just wish that they would do it in sync and not like two of them one way and the other one the opposite way, but they are so cute. I had to spy on them for a little bit. I know that also a lot of people suggest keeping like a list of things you're grateful for every day. I used to do that for a while, then I got out of the habit a little bit, unfortunately, and I should really get back to that, because it also pointed something out to me very clearly, is that I feel like we have sort of expectations for what we're even allowed to be grateful for. Like, it might sound strange, but when I kept that sort of a journal, I would sit there every day and think, well, I can't write down again that I'm grateful for my bed or having a warm bed to sleep in. Like, again, I've been writing that for the last 5 days, or like, that's not very original or very special, but why should it need to be? You know, it really shouldn't. And if you're grateful for something simple every single day, then why not feel that every single day? But yeah, it seems like even the things we're grateful for should be something big and fancy and special, but it really doesn't have to be. Like today, I'm grateful that I got to have a nice tomato soup for lunch. That's enough. I'd love to hear one thing that you're grateful for today. So all in all, I don't really want to come off here as one of those people who say, just be grateful for what you have. Gratefulness fixes everything, and you should be grateful for what you have all the time, and you should remember all the people who have it worse than you all the time. I know that that's not always possible, and I don't think that's always the most productive route to go, at least not for myself, I have found. And I'm not one for like the one-size-fits-all solution anyway. I think feeling good about yourself and your life has so many puzzle pieces, like so insanely many puzzle pieces. And the thing is, they're also not universal puzzle pieces. They're like unique to you and me and everyone. So like I said, I don't want to say just be grateful and everything will be fine, but for me it's one of my puzzle pieces, I think. And I really just admire those people who genuinely seem grateful and satisfied with what they have, not in the way that they're defeated or given up on wanting anything else. They're just content. And I really admire that quality in people, and I find those people usually to be a lot more pleasant to be around and a lot more calming and fun to be around than the people who really get drowned in their own ambitions and discontent. So long story short, I still love this game. I love it with what it has. I will probably love it with whatever update they do come up with in the future, and I love making content about it for you guys. So here we are, guys. We're at the end of the build. I hope you enjoyed watching the process, and I hope that you once again enjoyed listening to me ramble. As I said, I look forward to hopefully hearing from you in the comments. If you enjoyed watching but don't really have that much to say, then I of course also appreciate any other kind of support that you want to give the channel, like a like or a subscription. One thing that I certainly do appreciate is every single person here who wants to stick with me on this journey and this little experiment that is this channel. In any case, I wish you the very best. I hope you have a great day or night, and that I will see you very soon again for the next video. Goodbye!